Good afternoon, listeners, and welcome to the Get Life Educational Empowerment broadcast on Awesome Radio Network, broadcasting on the WECU 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. And if you're watching us live on Awesome Radio, Facebook, and YouTube, welcome to our viewing family. It feels so good to be seen and heard, but I want to hear from you. My heart and my passion are rooted in using my gifts and talents, as well as my testimony to inspire, uplift, and empower others. I am truly grateful for this platform and for the opportunity to empower lives through education. The title of this show, Get Life Educational Empowerment, is deeply rooted in the motto that has guided my life for nearly 2 decades. GITLIFE, get it together, live in full expectancy. This motto was born about 19 years ago during a season in my life when it was in complete shambles. I was down and I was out, but I made a decision that I would not stay there. In the middle of that difficult transition, I realized something critical. I needed to get it together, and not just for myself, but I felt a strong calling to help others get it together also. That's what GIT means, get it together. Because when life starts lifing, throwing challenges, obstacles, and unexpected situations our way, knocking us down and making us feel down and out, we have to make a conscious decision to get back up. Instead of defeat, depression, we get it together, just as Jesus declared in John 5 and 8. Rise, take up thy bed and walk. That scripture is a command to move, not to remain stagnant. It reminds us that we don't stay focused on the problem. We don't keep rehashing it. We don't keep rehearsing it or reliving it. Instead, we get it together and start looking for solutions. And as the word of God declares in Romans 8:37, yet in all things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. This is the heart of Get Life. We rise, we move forward, we press towards the mark, and we live not in fear, but in full expectancy. To live in full expectancy means that we stand firm on God's promises and we live with expectation from Him, expecting great things no matter the situation or challenge. John 10:10 tells us that the thief cometh not, but for to kill, steal, and to destroy. But Jesus said that I am come that they might have a life and that they might have it more abundantly. Because of that promise, we know that we are able to rise, we are able to overcome, and we are able to grow, even through life's unexpected challenges. And we know that education comes with its fair share of challenges, its fair share of problem solving opportunities. Because let's face it, we are, as educators in schools, we're growing organizations and we are problem solvers. As a motivational speaker and educator, I am deeply passionate about helping scholars, families, and communities navigate through challenges, build confidence, and take purposeful steps in succeeding. Beyond the classroom, I serve as a writer, editor, event host, tutor, and educational consultant and founder of Get Life Empowerment Solutions, where I support individuals and educational communities in discovering meaningful, practical solutions to life's challenges. Every part of my journey is dedicated to empowering others to reach their fullest potential. And I am so honored to share that journey with you, my co hosts, my collaborators, my listeners. So let's partner together to get it together. Let's partner together to live in full expectancy. Empower in education. empower each other. This dynamic, progress based program is designed to educate, encourage, and empower students, families, educators, and communities with practical tools to unite, problem solve, close gaps, build bridges, and rise to meet the challenges of today's educational landscape. And when we get it together, we also live in full expectancy, applying new skills, applying strategies, applying mindsets to grow, thrive, and elevate our educational journey. Believing in educational abundance, strong schools, strong families, and strong futures. So let's learn together, let's engage together, and let's be inspired as we equip one another with real world strategies and collaborative solutions fueled by a positive, empowered mindset. Together, let's turn challenges into growth. Let's ignite potential. Let's create success for every achiever. Welcome to the month of February 2026, a brand new season for love, growth, learning, inclusiveness, and possibility on the Awesome Radio Network. WECU 107.5 FM. Again, chime on into that chat. Call into the station at 252-756-2008. Be a part of the broadcast. We don't want you to just listen or see. We want you to engage. So let's get it. Comment, comment, comment. You can listen and engage with us on Live Awesome Radio Network, via YouTube, via Facebook, the Awesome Radio Nap, the Awesome Radio app, social media platforms. I am your host, Sherida Suggs, educational leader, principal, coach, motivator, and your partner in purpose. Here at Get Life Educational Empowerment, we believe in educational abundance. And when we get it together and live in full expectancy, we don't just hope for better, we build better. We strive together, we grow together, and families, we are better together. So, just as you are special, today is special. Congratulations to us. We have reached broadcast number 5, our first broadcast in the month of February, airing on February the 3rd. And we are stepping into this conversation during Black History Month. And that truly matters. Because as we continue talking about educational empowerment, building relationships, and student achievements, we must also talk about who our students are, where they come from, and how we must intentionally create spaces where every child belongs. This is also why I intentionally shifted today's topic from cultural responsiveness to cultural inclusivity. And let me tell you why. Initially, the framing was about responding to our students. But, family, here at Get Life, we don't want to just react, we are proactive. So, if you're a veteran and educator, when you walk into school, you already know what you're facing. If you are an aspiring educator, we want to let you know that it's not always sunshine and butterflies. However, we want to empower everyone to step into our schools, our classrooms, in our systems with a mindset of including, welcoming, valuing, and affirming these miniature adults, not waiting to adjust after harm has already occurred. Cultural inclusivity is about belonging. It's about feeling seen. It's about knowing that you matter before you ever raise your hand, before you ever get out of your seat, before you are ever disciplined or corrected. As we serve students from many cultures inside one school, our responsibility is to welcome them all, educate them all, and prepare them all to be contributors in a thriving society in a positive manner. So today's broadcast is intentional, is compacted with purpose. Settle in, grab your notebooks. This one is for the heart. This is culture. At Get Life Educational Empowerment, we share a culture of appreciation because gratitude is a part of growth and acknowledgement is a part of inclusion. Therefore, we want to acknowledge you at this moment. It is also about seeing the people that make education possible every single day. So, wherever you are, however you are listening, I want you to lean in. Lean in. If you're an educator, listening during a learning planning period, if you're trapped in during a snow day, if you're taking a long drive home, to our parents and caregivers, if you're in a carpool, stuck in traffic, in your kitchen, in your living room, if it's a late night study session, to our students, to our that are catching replay, if you're trying to figure out who you are, where you belong, to our counselors, our social workers, our administrators, our support staff, our leaders and mentors and faith partners. This is for you. You are included. We thank you for trusting this space. We thank you for choosing growth, even when it stretches you to the max. Thank you for showing up for our scholars with different stories, different needs, different backgrounds, different cultures. Please hear me clearly. You are seen, you are valued, you are needed. You are not invisible. You are not alone. And yes, you do matter. Every lesson taught with intention, every conversation rooted in care, every moment of patience, grace, and consistency. Let me say this in the spirit of culture, in the spirit of inclusivity, your background matters. Your lived experiences matter. Your voice matters. This work is not about fitting everyone into one box. It's about creating a space where everyone belongs. So, if you've ever wondered whether your effort makes a difference, if you've ever felt seen or unseen or unheard, whether you question if it's worth it, let this be your confirmation. This show exists because you exist. And the work you do is helping to build stronger schools, stronger communities, and stronger futures. Family, this is Get Life Educational Empowerment on the Awesome Radio Network, WECU 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. And listen, this is not a sit back and relax and watch type of show. This is a participation experience. Culture is built through connection, and community growth happens when voices are heard. So we don't want you to just listen. We don't want you to just watch. We want you to engage. Chime in. Chime into the chat right now. Drop a comment. Share your perspective. Affirm someone else's perspective. Because when one of us speaks, we all grow. If you want to be a guest on the show, email me at getlifeempowerment@gmail.com, or you can call into the radio station at 252-756-2008. We want to hear from you. So chime on in. Tell us where you're listening from. What culture means to you? What does it mean to you in your home, your school, or your community? Tell us how you create belonging where you are. And let's get it together, family. Comment. Tag someone who needs to be a part of this conversation. Share this stream. Invite your village. This is what culture inclusivity looks like in real time. Voices connecting, stories being shared, communities in action. Don't just sit on the sidelines, jump in, speak up, and let's get it together. So, over the past several weeks, we have been building towards 2026, brick by brick. We have talked about mental health because burned out people cannot build healthy systems. We've talked about positive relationships because trust is the currency of learning. We've talked about motivation and engagement because students don't learn from people they don't feel connected to. We talked about closing achievement gaps without blame because gaps are systematic, not personal failures. So today, this is the connector: cultural inclusivity, not just responsivity. We want to define cultural inclusivity, get lifestyle. So let's take a moment to dive deeper about cultural inclusivity, what it really means, and how it shows up into our schools, our families, and our communities. So we talked about understanding students and valuing who they are. Now, let's define some of the key building blocks that makes cultural inclusivity real. Let's get ready for some get life vocabulary. Our first vocabulary word is diversity. Dr. Lisa A. Gullion, an educator and extension specialist, best known for her work on diversity, inclusion, and education and development, defines diversity as a mosaic of people, each bringing unique ethnic and cultural styles, experiences, perspectives, and challenges and beliefs as assets to the organization that they're a part of. Diversity isn't just having different people in one place, it's celebrating what each person brings. And there are dimensions of diversity, as diversity equals age, gender. It's about physical ability, ethnicity, religion, recreational interests, and even personalities. Every layer matters. Every difference is a gift. And let's talk about culture. Culture is more than just music, more than just food and clothing. It's a shared system of meanings, beliefs, and values and behaviors that guides how people interpret and experience life. In schools, culture is unspoken yet visible. How people interact, how classrooms feel, and what is valued. As you survive the snowstorm of the century, I want you to liken culture to a glacier. So, the top of the glacier is what you see: how people dress, their language, their food, how they dance. These are often the things that people judge first, but they are only surface level things. So, in the middle of the glacier lies internal things, things that you notice when you connect, like eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, body language, how people spend their time, their personal space, kind of like social norms and social cues. And the bottom part of the glacier is underlying the deep stuff, the way people problem solve, the way they cooperate versus competition, attitudes towards elders and leaders, concepts of past and future, how they treat people. These are what makes each student's experiences unique. This is what makes them special. Equity in education cannot be talked about without thinking about the voice of Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King was clear that equality is not just about access, it's about justice. He famously said, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. What Dr. King reminds us of is that true educational equality is not simply placing students in the same building and giving everyone the same textbook. Equality means ensuring that every child has the opportunity to develop their mind, their character, and their full potential. We're getting ready to go on break. But before we leave, I want to leave you with this question. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly took the time to get to know a child? Have you ever encountered a child, whether it was your own child or a child in your classroom or a young person in your community that you just couldn't understand? I want you to think about what steps you took or didn't take to connect with that child and to help that child feel included. We'll be right back. Don't you dare go anywhere. Welcome back, family. This is a Get Life Educational Empowerment Show on Awesome Radio Network. So, what is cultural inclusivity? I'd like to answer this question with another Get Life Educational African American History moment. Dr. Genova Gay. She is an African American scholar and researcher. She reminds us that through both her lived experiences and her research, that culture is not an add-on to learning. It is essential to it. Her identity does not diminish her credibility, it deepens it. It reinforces the core ideas of cultural inclusivity, that those closest to the challenges often carry the clearest insight into the solution. That means you parents, that means you educators. The quote comes from Dr. Geneva Gay, a highly respected educational researcher, scholar, and thought leader in the field of multicultural educational, culturally responsive teaching. Dr. Geneva Gay is a professor at the University of Washington and the author of the seminal book, Culturally Responsive Teacher: Theory, Research, and Practice. Her work has shaped how educators across the country understand the relationship between cultural identity, teaching, and learning. So, when we talk about culturally responsive teaching in education, they are often building directly on Dr. Gay's framework. And I absolutely love this quote from Dr. Gay. Culturally responsive teaching is using the cultural knowledge, prior experiences, and performance styles of diverse students to make learning more appropriate and effective for them. It teaches to and through the strengths of these students. This shifts the mindsets from deficit based thinking to asset based thinking. Let's break it down through an inclusivity lens. Number one, culture should be seen as an asset, not a barrier. Cultural inclusivity says that students don't need to leave who they are at the door. Dr. Gay's work reinforces that cultural knowledge and lived experiences are strengths, tools for learning, not obstacles to overcome. At Get Life Educational Empowerment, we use proactive inclusion, not reactive responses. Cultural responsiveness often focuses on adjusting after a problem shows up, whereas cultural inclusivity goes further. It designs learning environments from the start that honors diversity and inclusivity. Dr. Gay's definition supports this by encouraging educators to teach through students' strengths, not just to respond to the differences. At Get Life, Belonging drives achievement. When instructional connections to students' experiences happen, students feel seen, valued, and capable. That sense of belonging is the heart of cultural inclusivity. Learning becomes more effective because students don't have to choose between identity and achievement. When we live in full expectancy through education, we teach the whole child. Cultural inclusivity recognizes that students show understanding in different ways: communication styles, collaboration patterns, creativity, and expression. Dr. Gay's reference to performance styles reminds us that one size fits all instruction excludes, while inclusive practices invite multiple ways for students to succeed. When Dr. Geneva Gay reminds us that effective teaching uses students' cultural knowledges and experiences as strengths, she's really talking about inclusion before instruction. Cultural inclusivity means that we don't wait for the student to adjust to us. We begin to design classrooms where they already belong. The get together bottom line is Dr. Geneva Gay gives us the research and the foundation. Cultural inclusivity gives us the intentional mindset together. And it reminds us that students, when they feel included, learning styles accelerate. When culture is honored, excellence follows. So let's have another research spotlight. And let's talk reality. When we discuss cultural inclusivity, we are not just talking about climate or feelings. Research consistently shows that cultural inclusive schools changes outcomes, especially when it comes to discipline, disengagement, and what we now call the school to prison pipeline. The school to prison pipeline refers to a pattern where students, and particularly Black students with disabilities, boys, and economically challenged students are pushed out of classrooms through exclusion merited discipline and enters into the juvenile justice system. And here's what research tells us: schools that lack cultural inclusivity are more likely to rely on punitive discipline. When students' language, behavior, and cultural norms are misunderstood, they're more likely to be labeled as defiant, disruptive, or disrespectful, not because they actually are, but because their behavior is being interpreted through a cultural mixed match lens. Research shows that in bias combined with zero tolerance policies leads to higher suspension rates and expulsion rates, increased academic disengagement, greater likelihood of justice system involvement, and suspension doesn't remove students from class only, it removes students from belonging. Now, here's where cultural inclusivity becomes a protective factor. With cultural inclusivity, we are not at all excusing bad or undesirable behavior. However, cultural inclusivity in schools shows lower discipline disparities. Research on cultural responsive and inclusive practices shows that when educators build strong relationships, understand communication styles, teach expectations explicitly, but not only teach them, but enforce them and use restorative practices instead of punishments, students are less likely to be suspended and more likely to stay engaged and more likely to succeed academically. Why? Because students who feel seen, respected, and understood are less likely to act out and more likely to self regulate. Cultural inclusivity increases academic engagement and achievement. Studies consistently show that when instruction connects to students' lived experiences, attendance improves, motivation increases, test scores thrive, and teacher to student trust strengthens. So, we are getting ready to take another break. And when we return, we're going to hop into a Get Life story time all about cultural inclusivity. And we're going to talk about ways that we can grow within ourselves and connect with our scholars so that we can create a community that thrives now and will thrive in the future. And before we go, let me say this: culture is about everyone, not just African Americans. We are, however, taking this time to highlight cultural inclusivity at the beginning of this African American History Month, as well as incorporating ways to show up inclusivity amongst all of our students. Educational empowerment is for all. Get Life educational empowerment is for all, and we will be right back. I'll miss you. So leave me some comments during our break. See you soon. Welcome back. You're tuned into Get Life Educational Empowerment right here on the Awesome Radio Network, Facebook, and YouTube. You're not just listening, you're partnering, collaborating, and connecting with the Awesome Radio Network. Catch us on the dial at WECU 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. And don't forget, you can watch us live on Awesome Radio Facebook page and YouTube channel. I am your host, Sherida Suggs, and I am so thrilled that you are still here with us. And we are diving right back into the tools, strategies, and inspiration that helps our students, educators, families, and communities get it together and live in full expectancy. So buckle up, stay tuned, and let's jump back in with a Get Life story time. So before our first break, I asked you a Get Life question, one that wasn't meant to be answered quickly, but honestly. And I want you to reflect. If that question made you feel uncomfortable, if it stirred something in you, if it took you back to a moment of even your own childhood, it's not guilt, it's growth. Because reflection is where transformation begins. Some of us realize that we tried, but we didn't quite know how to connect with the child. Some of us recognize moments where disengagement occurred instead of moments where we could have leaned in. Some of us remember what it felt like to even be that child, to be misunderstood, to be mislabeled, to be mishandled or overlooked. And here's the truth that I really want you to hold: understanding always starts with curiosity, not correction, not control, but curiosity. Ask questions. Cultural inclusivity does not ask us to have all of the answers, but it does ask us to be willing to listen, ask better questions, slow down, truly see behavior as communication, truly see culture as context, not complication. When we take time to know a child, we don't lose authority, we gain connection. And connection is the doorway to learning, trust, and transformation. So, as we move forward into this conversation, I really want you to carry this. Every child wants to be known, every child wants to belong. Every child deserves an adult who won't give up on them. This is how we live out cultural inclusivity, not in theory, but in practice. Now, let's keep going, family, because this work really does matter. Now, let me say this very plainly: you cannot connect and motivate a student that you do not understand. You cannot engage a child that you refuse to see. You cannot improve outcomes while ignoring identity. Now, let me ask you this: did you take the time to understand that child? Did you get curious instead of critical? Did you ask questions before making assumptions? Did you try to connect or did you quietly disconnect? And here's the harder question: did you invest in the child who was challenging, or did you only connect with the ones who were easy to reach? Now, let's pause for a moment. Were you once that child? Were you once that child who felt misunderstood? The child that felt unseen, unsafe, the one who needed someone to lean in and listen? If you're listening on the Awesome Radio Network, call in and share your experience. Leave a comment in the chat. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, let's dive deeper into this conversation about culture and cultural inclusivity together. This is your space. This is your voice. This is your platform. Your voice matters. You are included. Get life story time. So, as an instructional leader, once walked into a classroom to conduct a routine observation, almost immediately, attention was drawn to a new student, an African American boy with dreadlocks that covered his face. His pants were sagging, and his clothes were clearly worn out and old. Not the fresh outfits that you would expect for students to wear when they were starting a new school. He had, however, a magnetic personality. Students gravitated towards him. Some may have done it out of fear, and some may have done it to belong. When the student spoke, people listened. However, his behavior was disruptive. He made jokes during instruction. He called out the teacher publicly and pointed out that her tag was showing. He did this loudly, he did this proudly, and he did this purposely and repeatedly. The teacher ignored the behavior. The class laughed. From the outside, it could have been easy to label him as defiant, disrespectful, or attention seeking. It could have been handled with removal, discipline, or embarrassment. But instead, something different happened. As the class transitioned into another class period, the leader asked the student to come over for a private one-on-one conversation. No audience, no raised voice, no assumptions. The leader introduced herself, welcomed him to the new school, asked him for his name, shook his hand, and shared that she was excited to see the progress that he was going to make as a student there. Then, carefully and intentionally, she addressed the disruption. She pointed out that it seemed like he genuinely cared about his teacher. Maybe he really wanted to help her by really helping her to know that her tag was out. He agreed. His language shifted from casual street slangs to a respectful yes, ma'am. And she affirmed that care. Then she offered guidance to him. She explained to him that while the teacher may have appreciated being told about her tag, calling her out publicly may have been embarrassing and disruptive to the learning environment. So she asked him a simple question: would you rather someone tell you privately about something that you needed to fix, or would you prefer that they say it out loud in front of everyone and possibly cause embarrassment? Without hesitation, he said privately. That was a Get Life educational moment for that student. The leader thanked him for caring about his teacher. She showed him how to express that care in a more meaningful and appropriate way. And she even gave him a chance to practice by lending him a sticky note so that he could write a short note to his teacher, apologizing for the interruption and discreetly telling her about her shirt tag. She welcomed him again to the school and sent him on his way. The entire interaction took 5 minutes. The same 5 minutes that it could have taken to yell at him, the same 5 minutes that it could have taken to remove him from the class, the same 5 minutes that it would have taken to send him to ISS and to call his parents. and to label him instead of lead him. But instead of exclusion, the response was inclusion. Instead of punishment, there was instruction. Instead of control, there was connection. And that student walked away not embarrassed, but understood. This is a Get Life's principle. Cultural inclusivity does not ignore behavior. It teaches students how to behave. It teaches students how to belong. Because when we take time to understand the why, the behind the behavior, or to teach what we expect, or to welcome positivity within our school and community culture, we don't lose authority, we build trust. And trust is where growth begins. You see, culture is not a barrier to learning. However, exclusion is. That student wasn't broken, the system wasn't broken. Instead, the system gave him a chance. You see, students don't need to become someone else in order to succeed. Students need to grow within themselves. Schools need to be places where students already feel honored for who they are. Research shows us that this very moment right here is where the school to prison pipeline often begins, not with crime, not with violence, but with misinterpretations. Studies consistently show that Black boys and boys who do not conform to traditional school norms or discipline more harshly for those disruptive behaviors. This very same student got kicked out of a class earlier for saying, wow. I said, wow. This same student could have been removed from instruction when that leader met him, but instead she greeted him. You see, our pedagogy shapes how we honor the students in our classroom and how we bring the culture into the learning experience. It's really how we respond to what we believe about students based on what we see. And once a student is pushed out of the classroom through referrals, suspensions, isolations, expulsion, students are not able to catch up. If the teacher didn't take the time to give them work to catch up and instructional hours to complete the work, the student's behavior could have been handled in 5 minutes or punished in a way that followed him for years. That difference is called cultural inclusivity. And I'm thankful for leaders like this one. Can't we take this student's magnetic personality to help him to build connections with other students who struggle to be seen? Can't we use his sense of humor to create a positive, welcoming classroom culture? Can't we use his awareness and attention to detail to help him to better himself and help other teachers and empower peers in positive and thoughtful ways? Can we use his confidence to give him leadership opportunities, mentoring moments, or give him ways to contribute meaningfully to the school community? Cultural inclusivity is not about lowering expectations. It's about raising expectations and raising understanding. And let's take a moment to think about and talk about how our female African American students can be perceived. Research and lived experiences do show that Black girls are often seen as older than they actually are. They are sometimes labeled as more mature, strong, bossy, or fast simply because of how they carry themselves socially or emotionally, or how they look physically. Our African American girls, let's face it, they're built a little differently than other races and ethnicities. So many of them also take on adult responsibilities at home. They help to raise their siblings. They care for their family members. They manage household responsibilities. They mentor younger relatives. By the time they step into a middle school classroom, they already have a sense of responsibility that is strong and beyond their years. Their posture, possibly their confidence and their assertiveness, can make them appear to be adult like. They may even feel adult like at such a young age of 11 or 12. And here is where bias comes into play. Adults may expect less patience, less support, and less attention from these students because they seem grown. Their struggles are are overlooked because we assume that they can handle things on their own. Behavior that is natural for that age, like testing boundaries and seeking attention, may be misread as defiance. Difficult to talk about, but it is true. And so when we talk about inclusivity, it's not about so much celebrating differences all the time, but it's also about looking into our own biases and adjusting our own expectations and building systems that support every child, no matter who they are. So, no matter who you are, whether you're a scholar, whether you're an educator, whether you're a community of the community, let's take a step back and look into ourselves, our own hearts, and let's examine how we can help to support our students / our futures. So in schools, cultural inclusivity might look like recognizing students' humor, personality, or street smarts as a strength instead of disruptive behavior, providing multiple ways for students to express themselves, like written, spoken word, artistic abilities, and collaboration, allowing students to share their cultural language in the classroom, making every student feel seen. Scholars, no matter what your age is, no matter where you are or where you are from, I want you to affirm yourselves and say and believe this out loud and proud. In this world, I am seen. In this world, I am valued. Say out loud to yourself, my culture is my strength. I belong here. I am capable of greatness. My voice matters. I can learn, I can grow, and I can thrive as my authentic self. So, how does cultural inclusivity apply to parents and family members and viewers? Value and celebrate the child's background at home. Advocate for your child positively in the school by sharing their stories, by sharing their strengths to educators. Help help us to see their cultural identity as a strength while embracing others. Because remember, every chair has a story. Partner with the schools to ensure that your child feels included and capable, not working against the schools. Families, culture starts at home. Be proud of who you are and where you are in life. All we have is what's deep within to help to lend an opportunity to self improvement, not self pity. If you're struggling, don't make the school system pay for it. Know that you are seen, understood, and that everyone has a struggle to overcome. Culture is thriving despite the struggle, welcoming people to come into your village and not your business. And that's why we're here. The world doesn't owe you anything, but the world can, and the world is willing to share a lot with you. Families, affirm yourselves and say it out loud, loud and proud. I am my child's first and strongest advocate. My child's culture and identity are valuable. My child fits in. I am a partner in my child's education and growth. My guidance helps my child belong and succeed. I have the power to support and nurture greatness. Communities, cultural inclusivity looks like mentorship. It looks like empathy. It looks like cultural awareness. It looks like supporting schools through volunteering. It looks like sharing resources. It looks like creating safe spaces. Community members, I want you to say and believe our children are whole. Our children are capable. Our community thrives when every voice is included. We have the power to create safe and inclusive spaces. Let's take a moment to pray for our scholars, for our schools, for our communities. Father God, we thank you. We thank you so much for our students. We thank you so much for our scholars. We thank you so much for our schools. We thank you for our families, our parents, our guardians, our community members. We thank you for building strong cultures amongst our students. We thank you that they are proud of themselves. We thank you that they're making us proud. We thank you that they are strong. We thank you that they are capable. And we trust that you will continue to watch over our scholars, watch over our educators, watch over our leaders, help our educators to obtain wisdom, patience, and be able to build classrooms where students belong. Let families build confidence within their students. Give communities hearts to uplift, mentor, and embrace our students as a part of a collective whole. Help us all to build schools and communities where equity, justice, and inclusion are not just ideas, but live realities. And it is in your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. Family, today we thank you so much for listening to Get Life Educational Empowerment as we explore the power of culture, inclusivity, honoring every student's identity, who they are, leveraging their strengths to build thriving classrooms, families, communities. Remember that students do not need to become someone else to succeed. Instead, schools, families, and communities must become the place where they are already honored. Remember, every student, such as yourselves, deserves to be respected and valued. This is the essence of Get Life. Together we bridge gaps. We amplify positive voices. We build futures where every student thrives. I want you to stay empowered. Always remember to get it together, live in full expectancy, and empower education. I am Sherida Suggs, and I am so glad that you joined us today. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Tuesday at 3 o'clock p.m. Empower Education.